Yeah, I usually for the last year and a half, I've been doing my exercising at 5 in the morning. So like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you
I
you
meet
still get up early, huh?
I meet with my trainer, but then this past like lately, I haven't been able to really. I just have needed more sleep for some reason because the classes have been going late, and I've always been able to go to sleep at like 12 and then wake up
I
at
was gonna say, so
4:30.
when do you sleep? Because I'm here in California and I'll text you at midnight and you return the text in like a minute. So that's like 2 or 3 in the morning your time.
Yeah, so I stopped doing the 5 a.m. workouts because it was like
Okay. Okay.
it was it was too much. But I also just the amount of food you have to eat like when you exercise like that because like I was
Oh
doing like
yeah.
some Navy
And
SEAL
those
type
late nights you
stuff.
get in a couple extra meals, yeah, that's not good.
It's just oh you have to eat so much just to recuperate. I just couldn't take it anymore. So now it's like I'm back to like playing basketball and swimming and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That type of exercise will really it makes you like jacked, but you just gotta sleep too much. You just can't work and exercise. It's not that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How's the audio and everything? Hey, Evan, how you doing? Are you a 49ers fan, Paul?
Die hard 49er fan. Yeah.
Oh man, so not the Vikings.
I lived in Minnesota for 15 years, so you know how wherever you move to, you kind of become a fan of there. So they're my second team. But when I was 6 years old or 7 years old, that was their first Super Bowl in '81. So since then, I've been a diehard 49er fan.
Oh yeah, that's a great time to watch. I mean, to really be a fan of
Yeah,
49ers
through the Joe
too.
Montana years, Steve Young years.
Vikings, not so much. They stink.
Yeah, yeah, they do. But this new quarterback, he might turn them around.
Yeah, that's all it takes, right? It's just the one guy.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah,
NFL is. But you just can't without the quarterback. It's like everything's a lost cause.
yeah, yeah. Did you see the game last night?
I watched bits and pieces of it.
Seattle still looks good. Not good for the 49ers.
Yeah, Green Bay did not look good.
No, no, and I think they got two offensive linemen hurt, so I think it might be a long year for Rodgers.
I mean, even that. I mean, really, even the year they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they almost didn't even make the playoffs. They caught that hot streak like right at the end.
That's right. That's right.
I think it was the Giants. Like they were tied with the Giants the last game of the season. The Giants missed the field goal. Green Bay got in, and then they got hot.
Yeah. How
So
is it that Eli Manning has two Super Bowls? That's still I still don't get that.
it must be one of those things where he's so aloof that
Yeah.
he doesn't feel the pressure.
Are you playing any fantasy leagues or anything?
I'm not. I stopped doing it a couple years ago because it takes up a lot of my time.
Oh yeah, I went cold turkey. One year I played like 12 or 13 teams in 12 or 13 leagues, and I was about 6 years ago, and I completely stopped after that.
I mean, I really like to win, so it's like, and it's just like for me, it's just like trading or
Yeah,
stocks. Like all of a sudden, you're analyzing what you could have done, what you should do. Then you got all these statistics,
yeah, yeah.
and
It's a lot like trading. It's the same type of analysis actually.
and so it just made it way too addicting for me because then I was really taking it personally. Like I finished second in one league and like third, and I was like, and then I looked at the guys that won, and I was like, this is bullshit. Like how could this idiot
It's a
win?
lot of luck, a lot of luck. Yeah, and the worst thing is when you start rooting against your team. When you've got a
That's
player.
the thing too, and I'm a homer too, so it's like one year I hated rooting against the Lions, and so
Mhm.
then the next year I loaded up on all the Lions players, and that's never going to happen because they'll always let you down. And
Oh man, you're a Lions fan. That's right. You're from Michigan. That's got to be rough.
it is a terrible thing to be a Lions fan.
Well, at least you guys got Calvin Johnson.
That's true. We'll see. You never know. Every year, the beginning of the year is our highlight.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what's going on with you? Stock market. Stock market.
Yeah. We're watching SPY right now. I've got that position in SPXU. I've been waiting for the market to pull back, but it just doesn't want to. It's one of those things. Happens quite a bit where everything tells you the market needs to pull back, but it's just you never know when that big drop's gonna come. But I think we're ready for it pretty soon here. We're finally starting to see a little bit of weakness. Yesterday's close was the first close near the low since August 7th. And then actually not yesterday, day before yesterday. And then yesterday we also closed off the highs, so we're starting to see a little bit of weakness now. So we'll see if we get a pullback. And for me, more than the SPXU trade, it's just getting a pullback to get some better swing setups. We get some stocks, and we're already seeing it in a lot of the momentum stocks. They're starting to pull back a little now. So if we can get a little bit of pullback, we'll get some nice entries in some of these momentum stocks we've been playing.
I mean, I went through 1,000 charts yesterday, and I found like 0 that I thought were like ready right now for like
Yeah, for swings, right?
Yeah, but even for day trades, it's like you want to have a really good. I mean, you want to catch a stock that's in its inflection point, that it's about to bounce or about to break out, but everything has either just been bitten up or it's too extended.
Yeah, and even we look at the market keeps going up, but you look at the breadth. There aren't a lot of stocks that are keeping up with the market with new highs, and you look at the breakouts. I really watch breakouts closely on a daily basis, and when you're at highs like this, you expect to see just tons of breakouts, and we're not seeing a lot of those. And you play a lot of breakouts, so you probably noticed that.
I mean,
I guess for you, all you need is a few of them, but I mean, there's not ton of breakouts right now.
Really, out of the like regular momentum stocks, besides Tesla, I didn't see anything that was
and
that really took off.
I watched the Russell 1000, and I usually I expect to see something like this. I expect to see like 30, 45% breakouts, and on a daily basis, we're seeing 4, 5, 6 of them that are over 5%, and even a lot of them that are breaking out, it is the usual names, Tesla and a few others, and a lot of times it's within their ranges rather than actually breaking out of a trading range. So from a swing perspective, it hasn't been the best last few weeks to trade.
Just a wait and see.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice, like in this type of market, or do you take into account? One of the things that at least I've noticed over the last year is like after the market goes up for a long time, if it, in absence of like news, then it just kind of grinds sideways or slightly lower when it gets really, really overbought. It's almost like it always takes like some type of geopolitical thing, and then that kind of gives the market the excuse to sell off, and then everything comes into play.
Yeah. So right now, I think right now, a lot of these guys are conditioned to buy every little dip, and that's kind of what's happening. But we're starting to see some weakness now, so I think we should get a pullback pretty soon.
And then the other thing is also it's like you can watch the S&P, and that could mask really what's going on with every other stock. If you're not taking a look at the Russell or something like that, where you'll see a little bit more risky type of name.
Yeah.
Because even in the spring, though, I mean, the S&P just went sideways for months. You would have thought that the market was just in a big flag pattern, but the IWM was breaking down.
Yeah, and what's funny is when it was going sideways, we were actually getting some, for swings, we were getting some better action. There actually were, because of earnings season, a lot of it was earnings season. So like during that earnings period, even though the market itself wasn't quite as strong as it is right now in terms of hitting the new highs and kind of going sideways, there were a lot of different earnings plays, pullbacks to play. So it's kind of strange that during that period where the market wasn't at the new highs yet, it was a better market to swing trade than right now.
This earnings season, I didn't see as many of the. I didn't really see that as many awesome earnings breakouts as we had in the past year or so. I mean, there were a handful of them, but
A lot of the big stocks, that a lot of people like to trade, like Netflix, Tesla, and a few others. Those had really good earnings, and it wasn't affecting the market too much. And so when you look at all these things where the market didn't react to the earnings, right now we've got a bunch of divergences. The volume is not very good, and right now when you're hitting new highs, you expect to see some really good volume in the S&P, and we're not seeing that. Um, so normally, when you have these conditions where you have good earnings, you would expect to see the market really pulling away and breaking out, and now it's just kind of floating up. So that kind of gives me a signal that at some point now we're going to get that breakdown.
what are so if you're looking for a pullback, any besides the S&P, any focus stocks that you're looking at to buy either on dips or short on
Oh
strength?
yeah,
Or
yeah. Basically, the momentum stocks I've been watching. Let me pull up my focus list here.
yeah, let's get a chart going.
All right,
Oh
can you
yeah, I
see
got you.
the
Oh yeah, I see it.
TC 2000 now?
Yep.
Okay, so actually this is the list of requests here. Let me get into my. So here's my focus list here. So basically, I keep a watch list of anywhere between 75 and 150 stocks, and then I've got a focus list that's usually somewhere between 20 and 30 stocks that I kind of key in on more. And it's the usual names here. Netflix, it's at the highs right now, and printed that we talked about this hammer here, and we were expecting a pullback, and it has pulled back here. Now, if it gets back into this range here, maybe around 460, or even a pullback to the 50-day moving average, and if we get SPY pulling back to the 50-day moving average, which would be, I think it's at 200 now, and 196 is where the 50-day is on SPY. So if we get that pullback, Netflix is probably going to pull back around 460, and that would be a great entry. So that's basically with a lot of these stocks that are kind of extended. I'm just waiting for that really good entry where I can hold the stock for 1 or 2 weeks and get it. With Netflix, I would expect like a 20 or 30 point gain. Baidu, it's in the top of this earnings breakout range, but because there hasn't been a real catalyst now, and the market's not really pushing higher, it's kind of just sitting at the top of the range here. So if we can get a pullback here to the bottom of the range, maybe even the 50-day moving average, that would be a really good entry. With a lot of these stocks, that's basically what it is. They're
Did you
very.
ever enter Baidu? I sat on my swing for a while, and then I got tired of looking at it.
I've been watching the bottom of the range, and I came close a lot of times. In the focus list, I had the buy point listed at 210 to 212, and a number of subscribers did enter and played this big move here. I didn't.
I was early, so I think I entered around August 4th.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay,
then,
so yeah, you got in around that 210, 215 range
yeah,
somewhere.
then I took off half into the thrust, around like a 220 or so.
Uh-huh.
And then, I mean, it was just, I can't be in a stock for 2 weeks. Like, it's just for me. As it's like drifting back, and I'm like.
So even when you've got your swing, you've got your day trades, you've got your separate swing account or wherever you place them, you still don't want to hold it that long?
Well, I put a stop at my buy price on this one, and then really about, it must have been about 10 days ago or so, or not even, maybe 7 days ago, when the market was getting very, very overbought. So like around the 18th or 17th of August,
Uh-huh.
with the SPY getting so extended,
Yeah,
I unloaded basically, like, I swing trade like what you do in my IRAs and stuff too. And so, that's one of the things I'll do is if the market gets really, really stretched and I've got 3-4 swings, I'll always take a couple off, and I might keep one or raise up my stops or something like that. But for me, because I don't want to manage it too much, I'd rather just raise cash as a hedge and just, be done with it and then wait for a better entry in the market.
That's exactly what I did with, when we look at these, we don't just look at the stock, we look at the market, and the market being so overextended, I pulled out of, this is one of my favorite setups here. When you get an earnings breakout, can you see Twitter here?
Yep.
So, we had this earnings breakout, and then you get this kind of rounded pullback with a big gap. And once you see that area kind of round, that forms a range for you to play. So I entered at the bottom of this range, and we had to wait a little while, but it started to make the move up. And when it hit around 46 or 47, the market was so extended that I got out, and I actually missed this more extended move. I probably left 2 or 3 points on the table here, but yeah, with the market being so extended, I did the exact same thing. I pulled out of a few trades a little early. I still got my 2-to-1. No matter what, I'm going to wait for the 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. But once I get that, I'll consider the market. And here I had pulled out. But looking at Twitter here, you see this pattern here with this kind of rounded pullback.
Yep.
There's another stock now that I'm watching really closely, MNST. And if you see here, this is the exact same setup that's forming now. You had that big breakout. This wasn't an earnings play, and I usually don't pay attention to news, but one thing I pay attention to is what type of breakout it is, meaning is it an earnings breakout? Is it based on a rumor? I'm always going to give more weight to something that's tangible, like earnings, versus a rumor. And I think this related to Coke taking a bigger position in Monster. So I think that's a little more it's not quite earnings, but it's more tangible than a breakout just on a rumor.
Yeah,
so,
it seems the earnings are more smooth, and then you also know that the earnings are out. That's why, like, what was it? Z and TRLA. I got stopped out of TRLA a couple times because that was a rumor play. So it ended up being a little.
And with UTRLA, I've been playing Z and kind of the same thing.
Because it's a rumor play, it's a little bit more choppy. It doesn't hold as well.
Yeah. So this is the exact same setup as Twitter. We had this big breakout. It's kind of a rounded pullback that forms a range. I had placed a buy point right in here. I didn't take it because the market was extended, but a number of subscribers are in it right now. And then you get this rounded kind of move up, exactly what Twitter did, and then you get a little bit of a pullback where people start taking profits on this move up, and then the expectation is it'll hit that at least back up to the earnings high. So I'm expecting it to go to 95 here. I'm watching it really closely. If I can enter here, maybe at 87, if it pulls back a little bit here. But this is, if you look at it here, it's following exactly the path that Twitter did. Exact same setup here back in early August.
Score, and those are sweet plays because it's very easy to manage your risk.
Yeah. Once you get that kind of rounded bottom forming there, it's really easy to enter and place your stop right under the lows.
Anything else you got on the line over there that you're watching?
Most of it, I'm watching all these stocks here. Most of them are extended. BIDA I like a lot, low float stock that's really been moving. It was, in this kind of trend pullback, slowly floating higher, and now all of a sudden a lot of volume has come in. So I've been looking for a good entry here.
Do you ever, because I day trade this stock all the time, because some days you'll have like a $6-7 range on it.
Yeah.
When I look at it from a swing trade basis, do you put any credence? Because I don't really pay attention to candles in per se. It's just too much work for me. But you got all this funky action like the last 4 or 5 days. It basically just hammer doji, hammer doji, hammer doji.
Yeah. So it depends where it is. If it's in the middle of a range, I don't care. But where I really look at candles is at the bottom and top of ranges or at resistance and support.
Okay.
I think a lot of people make the mistake that they look at every single candle. And if something's trading in a 70 to 80 range, and at 75 it makes some candle, that candle is really meaningless. But when it's at, like, say, close to new highs, and so these, I don't care how you name the candle, just pay attention to where it closes, where it opens, if a tail has formed. So these last two have formed tails pretty close to the high here. So basically they're having trouble breaking out, and then you've got that round number 100 resistance there too.
Yep.
So with that regard, I do place some weight here on these candles. Um, I'm not going to short off these candles, but it gets me watching for a pullback a little more closely. So I figure, okay, there might be a pullback here. Um, and if I can get in somewhere around the 20-day moving average, or where the low of this breakout looks like 82, 83. Maybe if I could get in around 84, that would be a good entry. Um, this where it hit its high here, and then there was this big red down bar. That's when I would have paid attention to. It's almost like a bearish engulfing candle. So that was a little bit of a signal that it's not ready to break out, that it's going to pull back, which it did. But it needs to consolidate here. You look for a good entry, and if the market, that's why I'm waiting for that market to pull back. Because if the market pulls back, this is probably going to go down to around 80, 81, 82, and you'll get a really good entry, and you can play a move from 80 to 100.
Yeah, I like this stock, but it's on my hit list if we get some weakness. This thing usually will drop $5-6 in a 30-40 minutes.
So basically, on my focus list, that's what a lot of it is, just waiting for pullbacks here. Facebook is near highs here. It looks ready to pull back maybe to the low of this range. And I think this was an earnings breakout, and it's just formed that range, hasn't been ready to break out from the earnings high yet. But anything that had a good earnings breakout is what I'm still watching for, that second move post breakout, which for most of these stocks we haven't had yet. So a nice pullback could give us that entry for a second move up. I'm in GWPH. This one's been a little frustrating here. So we've got I entered right at the pullback to the moving average. It's broke the moving average a little here, but not really a breakdown. So I'm still in this one, waiting for a remount here.
Yeah, this one you also seems like you got to give it a little bit more space than
It's a pretty volatile stock.
Everybody wants to use a 50-cent stop on a stock, but on a stock like this, you see daily ranges of $7, $8, $9, $10 a lot of days. You almost have to have a $4 or $5 stop if you're going to use
that, combined with the fact that almost everybody who entered here, I entered on this, so you had this breakout here, and then you had this nice little pullback on low volume. Overall, the volume pattern is really good. Up days versus down days. So I entered here on this third day pullback, and basically everybody who entered around here has their stop under the moving averages. Yeah. So that's where stop gunning takes into effect. They, whoever they are, they know that, and they stop people out, and then you look for here. This is where you get a lot of those remounts, and I wrote an article on the blog about the remount, the breakout failure remount setup, and that's what you get a lot, where there's some stop gunning involved, and then you get that remount of the moving average and a move up. So I decided to stay in this trade here. I've got my stop under the lows of these days, and hopefully now everyone who was going to get stopped out got stopped out, and we see a move higher up to 100.
Yeah, because really, in reality, the price is just in a range. I mean, it broke under the MAs on August 4th, too, and then it just remounted.
Yeah, exactly.
It just recently happened. That seems to be the case. And one of the things I did notice is with this type of stock that's been like in a range for like a couple months, those short-term moving averages, they don't have as much weight in terms of, holding, because they're just knifing through the middle of the price range.
The 20-day. Yeah, the 20-day. A lot of people like to play the 20-day, but I think with the 20-day on the dailies, if you're playing that, you're gonna get stopped out quite a bit. Usually the 50 and 200s are a lot stronger.
Let's go over some of the stocks that folks were asking about on Twitter.
Sure. Okay, and a number of these, the ones with the blue flags here, are ones that are on my focus list. If we're looking at a remount, SCTY, and I know this is one you trade quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I've been staring at this one for a good week or two.
Yeah. So So we had this. I'm not sure what this breakout was based on, if it was earnings or what. But this is way back in. Looks like I'm not sure when this was. Well, early in the year.
June.
But here, we had a breakdown of the moving averages. But that's another thing when we talk about breakdowns. There's the high volume breakdowns are the ones to be concerned about. This low volume breakdown uh, on a pattern that still looks good within its range usually isn't that significant. But now, yesterday, on a little bit of a pickup in volume here, we've got a remount of the 50-day moving average. And this is a signal that the stock could be ready to finally make its move when it breaks down below a 50-day and then remounts it. The other nice thing about this setup is when you get in, it's there's an easy place to place your stop. You can place it under the moving average. I generally like to place it not only under the moving average but under the candle for that day. So probably around 7 right here. So give it a little wider stop, maybe 3 or 4 points. But if your target is up here around 80, you're still getting 3 to 1 on that trade.
I was looking at FSLR yesterday for a breakout. I really liked the daily on that one, and the little sucker just plunked on me a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of Baidu did this. Netflix did this.
It looks so great.
Yeah, and that's this is not the kind of action you expect when the market is making new highs. You expect all these momentum stocks to be breaking out. But that's not what's happening. So this candle here, this is where I do pay attention to the candle, where we were talking about do I pay attention to candles? Here, at resistance, where you have this old high here in July, you tried to break out here and it failed. This is you have that expectation of a pullback here, and this, if you want to do a speculative kind of short play, you can even short off this. But right now, I'd probably just wait for a pullback and a better entry.
Yep. So I have some of this. I was, if I was going to enter this, I would have probably hit it closer to $70.
Yeah, 70 would be pretty good with that 20-day moving average there. So GMCR, this is another one that was asked about. It was printing this. It broke out. I'm not sure I don't know if this was earnings or something.
That was earnings, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, this one was earnings. You had this high tight flag forming for an entry up here rather than a pullback to the bottom of the bar. But now, yesterday's action is not very good. And it's another kind of where you have these momentum stocks where the action is not very good near the highs in the market. That's a signal that maybe we're going to get a deeper pullback. But I would probably be hesitant to enter here just because of yesterday's action, and maybe wait and see if you can get a pullback to the closer to the bottom of the breakout bar.
Yeah, once the high tight flag doesn't hold, then you have to wait for the next setup.
Exactly, because you don't really have a good place for entry, a good support area. That's the swing perspective. What about is this something that's on your day trading radar?
No, because since it's not in a setup per se, and you're just in the middle of the range, the only thing you can do is either wait for it to remount and start breaking the top of the range, or come to the bottom of the range, which would be that 125 area, where you have the bottom of the breakout bar, and then by the time it pulls back, you'll have your moving averages converging pretty much right under it. My assumption is these MAs will be 126, 127 in a few more days as it's pulling back.
Yeah, so that's basically what if we can get that market pullback, there are going to be a ton of great setups. With GMCR, if we can get in at the bottom of the breakout bar, and we want volume to. Sometimes when we get a market pullback, volume does pick up a little bit, but as long as it doesn't pick up too much, and the positive volume is still higher than the pullback volume, it would present a good entry. GWPH, we just talked about. YY. Now this stock looks good, and we'd expect more stocks in this market to be doing this, breaking out to new highs on good volume, just like YY is. But it's one of the few that is actually doing this. Most of these stocks at the breakout level had those horrible looking tails. This one has a little bit of a tail, so it didn't close at its high, but it still is at that breakout level, so it hasn't failed yet. I'd be a little concerned about entering right here, just because I'm factoring the market pulling back. But this one probably would require a shallower entry pullback than some of the others we're looking at because it's been so strong and the volume is so good here. So if I could get in, maybe on a pullback to 90, 89, somewhere in there, that would be a great entry.
Yeah, that was another one I was looking at, but I was hesitant to get in it not yesterday, but the day before, because I never like buying swing entries after they you get 3 green candles or 3 up days. Typically.
Yeah.
3 up days means you could get a couple down days, as we just had a week ago.
And actually, looking at the stock, we've talked about the remount setup. This was a nice remount setup here, where with the 20-day, it pulled down below, then it remounted it here, and now it's made that move higher. Z, I think we've talked about. I've traded this a few times here. I've had a couple of stop outs, one nice gain on it. I played this area in here. So I had entered around 141 on this pullback to the moving average. And it looks like it was another one of these stop gunning things where a lot of people had their stops under the moving average. But when that happens, you take such a small loss that it shouldn't be a big deal unless you're trading your entire account on one trade. If you're managing your position, for me on a $118,000 account, it was a $400 loss. So not really a big deal. Whereas if you win on this trade, the target's up here at 160. So we're looking at almost a 5-to-1 reward to risk. So still was a good setup. Yesterday, I'd actually sent out an alert that if it closed above the moving average, I would enter. And so we were looking at 139, and that was going to be a nice hammer tail right at a support level, but it ended up closing before, so we didn't take the trade. And that's another thing to remember with trades is you have to have a short memory where you can't let your previous trade affect you. So I got stopped out before. That doesn't mean the next setup in this trade is not in this stock is not a good setup.
I find that one's always a little tricky too. Is the volume seems to just it thins out, even though it does 1 million shares in volume. It trades very thin.
But what I do like about it is you're going to get stopped out a lot on this type of stock. But when you're talking about a $20 million float, if you do get some positive volume, it is going to move and move.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm willing to be stopped out 2, 3, 4 times because I know when I do hit on this stock, I'm going to hit big. Let's look at okay. This one hasn't even come up on my screens, but it's a really nice setup here. Have you been watching ARUN at all?
Arun, my cousin.
Yeah.
My cousin Arun. I actually have not been watching this one.
Yeah, someone posted.
This was a blast from the past. This was a hot stock back in the day.
Yeah, but someone posted this on Twitter last night, and it hadn't shown up on my screens, but looking at it, it's a really nice setup here. So we've got the strong breakout into new highs. Let's see if this is actually it's new recent highs, but the old high looks like it's still at 23. So there's not a ton of room to move right now. But just looking at this here,
I forgot about this. This stock has been in a range for so many years that I just took it off all my lists.
Yeah,
when a stock gets in a range for 2 years, it's usually just dead till some drastic piece of news comes in, and then you can always get it after it starts trending.
Yeah. So we've got a strong breakout here, pull back to the bottom bar. So the setup itself is nice. It's 100 million float, so it's probably going to take a lot of volume to really move it. So the setup itself is nice. I don't think I would take the trade, just because and you look at the way the stock moves. You've got a 2 or 3 point trading range here. So if this does make a nice move, you're maybe going to get a point or two.
Yeah.
On a swing, maybe on a day trade, that might be good, but for a swing, you're looking for a little more than that. SCTY we talked about. Netflix we talked about pulling back here. ICPT, this is on my longer term watch list, and it was on the focus list when it broke out. Um, it's kind of a weird breakout because it ended up closing towards the lows. But it's kind of moved back and forth at those lows. It's a pretty low risk entry. It's going to take something to move it, but it's a low float stock, about 10 million shares. If you can get in here, you could probably be patient with this because it doesn't look like anything's moving right now. But if you get in around 280, put your stop at 270, and you've got a target here at these highs here at 340. I mean, you've got a great reward to risk. But it's just a matter of how long would you be willing to stay in this trade.
Does it come into play because it's a biotech? So do you take in terms of managing the risk?
As long as as long as you're managing it, watching it closely, biotechs have been doing really well. So actually, I've always had in the last couple of weeks, I've had if I have 10 to 20 focus list stocks, 5 or 6 of them have been biotechs. So I'm not scared to trade biotechs or worry about it. But
no, they're the fun. I mean, for me, they're besides Chinese stocks, they're the funnest stocks to trade.
Yeah, seems like I usually get members who either will not trade biotechs because maybe they had a bad experience before, or they only want to trade biotechs.
I got some guys in my chat room that only want to trade biotech.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is, the guys who like to trade on news love biotech because there's always, some study or something coming out.
Yeah, and I mean it's I don't mind after the study comes out, the big news comes out, playing the first pullback or the breakout, but trying to play it for the news is always a tricky one. I never understood how the people figure that out.
Yeah. So with this skill set, the setup is okay, but it's one you'd have to be willing to be patient with because it's going to take a lot of time to to consolidate with this big move here. WFM Whole Foods, it's not one I would consider trading as a swing. The setup's okay. You've remounted the moving averages. Now there's a pullback. It's just that we're looking for momentum stocks with a lot of volatility. And here, what are you going to get? You might be holding this for 3 or 4 months to get a 3-point move, and not really what we're looking for. Tesla, again, this is one of those great momentum stocks. Tremendous volume here. We just need a pullback, and it looks like we should get it. When it broke out to these new highs here, we had this kind of ugly candle here. And then now we've got a tail forming that shows some indecision here. So I'm expecting a pullback. If you can enter maybe around 270, a little lower than that, closer to the 20-day moving average, that would, I think eventually we're going to test 300. So if you can get in on a nice pullback, get a 20, 30-point move in there is a possibility. So I've been watching your day trades. I haven't seen Tesla on. Is that not something?
I have not. Once I missed it, I missed it.
Okay.
I missed it. I missed the boat on that bad boy. But you know what? It does have even yesterday, you'll see big pops in it intraday, just, flag patterns and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really watched the intraday, but.
Like yesterday, they had a flag pattern, like just sitting there, really, or a flat top breakout at like 285 for hours, and then it popped $6 off of it.
What is it? Is that what kind of chart are you looking at? Like a 5-minute?
A 5-minute? So yeah, right there.
Okay, so where is it here that you're?
So if you move to a 5-minute chart.
Oh, okay, I'm at a 1 minute. Okay.
So
there we go.
You see it a lot cleaner in a 5 minutes. So zoom into the day.
Okay, so where would be a good entry? Like when you get one of these kind of breakouts in a pullback, or are you playing the breakout here?
No, so like see how it consolidates? Usually you get ramp ups in momentum stocks usually later in the day.
Yeah.
Right around 2 p.m. you'll once you come out of the range
Okay, so
essentially.
you're looking at a breakout of the high for the day previous to that.
Yeah, and this is a 1 minute chart, so you won't see the pattern as well. But if you're looking at a
Just going
5 minute
back to
chart, you'll
one.
see like a very, very clear pattern. I think you got to scroll with TC 2000.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to use the scroll bar.
This thing here. Well, yeah, I think I've got an idea here. So you were looking at the high for the day, a breakout of that, and you'd probably exit up here.
Yeah, so those are the type of patterns that you would play as a day trader, or even on like say September 2nd. Whenever that news came out, you can
Uh,
see where even at the open there'll be like a flag pattern in the first like hour. So that's like how you would play the open is that you have opening range patterns and then end of day patterns.
okay. And FEYE. I know this is one you trade a lot.
It is.
And I was a little, I know a lot of people trade this stock for short-term swings and day trades. When I look at it, I don't see, I mean, it's volatile, but I don't see.
Well, I never traded long side. Pretty
Oh,
much for
okay,
the
you've been
last few
trading it on the
months.
short side. Okay.
Yeah, last few months I've been shorting it. So like all these
Okay.
type of, after it makes these type of runs, essentially, usually it'll stall out at an MA or something along that end. We short them.
Okay, so you had this. I guess you probably in March.
And it's not as volatile as it used to be. A few months ago, it was breakdown, bear flag, breakdown, bear flag, breakdown, bear flag for a
Well,
handful of months.
if we pull out to the yearly here, I can see where it went from a kind of a momentum stock. You had this blow off top here, breakdown. Is that when you started looking at it as a short play?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I can
And
see where you.
originally how I started playing this stock was if you look in March, it actually had an earnings breakout and then a really tight flag, and then it took off. And so
Uh-huh.
I was playing that original earnings breakout, and that's how we kind of
As a long play.
yeah, and that's how we originally came on the stock. And so then we were playing it to the long side all the time because it went from $30 to basically 100 in 3 months, which is the perfect type of day trading stock, and even
Yeah,
swing trading stock because it's pretty liquid.
yeah,
And then once it rolled over, though, you saw the blow off top and then the big gap down. So once you
yeah.
saw that blow off top and that big gap down, that's usually a piece of news. Once that piece of news hits, you're gonna get some type of short-term downtrend, and then it was just short, bear flag, breakdown, and then all its friends were having the same pattern. SPLK, W Day, and all the other tech stocks. So we've been playing them to the short side, and this one still we usually short it.
From a so I can see how you're shorting it from a day trading perspective, but from a swing perspective now, it looks like this range is forming almost a bottoming range here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, how
And
much can it really go down?
all of a sudden here, you had this when you're looking at swings on downtrends. Once a stock has been almost the exact opposite of this blow off top, now we've got almost like a blow off bottom. But unlike the blow off tops, which you get this move right away, the blow off bottoms usually take a long time to develop. So you get these big ranges here for swings. So you had this big gap down, and then all of a sudden you see this nice volume within this range. So if we forget about what happened before on this downtrend and just look at this range here now, the positive volume has been really nice. So someone is thinking, okay, this is it's gone down far enough. This is good value here. So you see this accumulation here, and again we see it now in the last few weeks here. So I would be watching the 50-day moving average here. So I probably wouldn't be ready to enter yet, but if it breaks above this 50-day moving average, you could get a pretty strong move back up to the 200-day. So that would be about 15 points there that you could play as a swing.
Dun, dun, dun. I got a couple questions in here. What do you think about soda? I took a look at soda. I didn't see really. I mean, I see kind of a breakout pullback in some manner, but it's a messy one.
Yeah, yeah. You had this breakout, this really long tail here, which is a concern on a breakout. You want, the breakouts to close strong. Um, the accumulation is actually decent here, but so if you like playing speculative stocks and don't mind, a lower win rate and getting stopped out, you could play it here, put a stop under the 50-day and see if you get a move here. Because if you do get a move, it should be pretty strong, especially with a 19 million float. But you have to be willing to get stopped out on this one because, yeah, it isn't the greatest setup.
Let's see, what else do we have? Any thoughts on SCOK? SCOK.
See, okay, I've never looked at this stock before.
It's a Chinese stock.
Okay, you know, I usually don't trade stocks at $2. So in terms of if there's any differences between lower price stocks, I'm not going to, be the best person to ask on that. But in terms of the setup, I mean, it's a trend pullback play. So the 20-day moving average has been holding. So anytime you get a pullback to it, has been a good entry. Volume pattern is really nice on it. So if it pulled back a little more, maybe to the very bottom of this breakout bar where you'd have the 20-day converging to it, that would be a pretty nice entry there and a low risk entry. So how would you look at this stock here?
I personally, I mean, volume pattern looks good. The pattern itself looks good. It's just so thin. I wouldn't, if it traded 66,000 shares and it's only $2,
Yeah,
I would need like 6,000-7,000 shares of this sucker probably.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
have the whole, I'd own the whole volume. So I'd probably, I'd be watching. I'd let it break out, and then, I'd be watching. If the volume was actually there, I'd wait for some type of pullback intraday to essentially enter.
So
Because
on a
otherwise
day
you could
trade,
just
so
get
on a
stuck.
day trade, what type of volume are you looking for?
Well, it's a liquidity thing. It's
Yeah,
hard to trade, unless you have 500,000 or even million shares in volume. It's just hard to get in and out,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
especially
so
for me. I need
that's probably another
size.
reason why this hasn't showed up on my scans. Usually I set them at 200,000 shares for swings. Although, there have been days where it gets up close to a million. But yeah, a day like yesterday where it's only 66, yeah, it's probably not something I'd trade.
Manish, all I saw was that you asked about soda. Dun, 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 dun. Joe wants to know, do you have any special things or webinars, videos, anything like that for the swing service? So you have been making videos and stuff, I'm
I've been
recent.
doing videos. I do an intraday video every day, and if you just keep watching those, I'm talking about the same setups, within the stocks I'm looking at. So just watching those videos on a daily basis, you're going to get a really good feel of what I trade, the setups, reading the reports every day. Even if I don't have a specific page on a setup, just reading what I do every day, you're going to get a really good feel for how I'm trading and the setups. Yeah, I am developing, with the blog posts. I'm trying to do one or two a week. Right now, we're going over different types of breakouts. So there's going to be more developing in that area and education.
Hey, Clayton wants to know on these rounded bottom pullbacks, um, do you scale into the plays or do you go and just say this is it?
It really depends on the market. If it's a really strong market and it's not too overbought yet, I'll just take the position. Just about every position I've taken in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've taken a half position. And if I see some strength, then I might scale. Or actually, sometimes even if I see a little weakness to get a better entry, I might add to it also. But the scaling more has to do with the market conditions than the setup itself. So I have no problem on that rounded bottom taking my normal size position, as long as I have my stop managed and I'm only risking, zero point 0.4, 0.5 of my account.
A couple people want to know any plans to do any specific webinars for the people at your swing trade service?
I haven't. I produce the videos, but if there's a demand for the webinars, I would have no problem doing it.
Cool.
But
yeah, maybe
there
we'll
is
do it.
there is a video every day, 1 or 2 videos every day.
Yeah, I watch those. All right, well, I think that's it. It's time to get trading. So, guys, you can always email us if you have any questions or anything along that end. Just send us an email. We'd keep this thing going, and I know there's a couple more questions, but I got to trade in 9 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do another one pretty soon.
All right, cool. Thanks, Paul.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
Paul,
everybody.
did you talk to Jordan about, I was thinking about doing that 4-day kind of a split between me and you, like a 2-day swing, 2-day day trade kind of.
Oh yeah. I'm actually really excited about that. So you're gonna take 2 days of it. I'm gonna take 2 days of it. We're gonna talk about swing trading. It's really gonna focus on for all you guys that are working, have jobs, families that can't devote your entire day to trading. My part of it is really going to focus on the part-time trader, strategies you can use, where you only have to, worry about the market 20, 30 minutes a day. So yeah, it'll be a really good lesson for all you part-time traders.
Yeah, I do my swing trading from my iPhone, so I can keep on my day trading platform.
Yeah, so your swings are basically like a part-time trader. You've got your day trading.
Buy, set your stop, and then at night I'll take a look and see what happened.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that class. Can't wait.
Cool. All right, take care, guys. We'll do this again soon.
Okay, thank you, everybody.